Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fun episode of 1000 Gurus with me, your host, J.R. Yono Cruz. So today's guest is Hazier Rios. Hazier Rios, or Hazi, holds a BA in psychology from UCI, where he served as president of Active Minds, a student-led organization promoting mental health awareness. He's delivered a TED Talk on improving your life, traveled to 4 continents, and continues to inspire students as a dedicated educator. Outside of the classroom, Hazier makes music and rock climbs, balancing creativity and the challenge in all areas of life. His ultimate goal is to earn a PhD in clinical psychology and to help the people around the world navigate their lives with clarity, compassion, and resilience. So as with most episodes, this was so much fun because we got to catch up after not having seen each other since about 2018. Hazi's journey of pursuing different fields like music, education, and psychology has been fascinating to watch from afar, and so I was glad to have him on the show to share his insights. I find that teachers tend to be some of my favorite guests on the show because they typically have done a lot of reflection and they communicate their ideas really well, and Hazi is no exception. We chat about his post-grad career journey that led him to working with his mother, and then eventually as a teacher to high school students. We also talk about emotional communication, mindset, psychology, his TEDx talk, and a lot more. It was a great conversation, and hopefully we'll be able to have a follow-up episode to tackle all the things we didn't get to this time around. So without further ado, hope you enjoy this episode with Hazier Rios. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest, Hazier Rios.
Hello, everyone. Yes. Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's really a pleasure to be on.
Hazi, thanks. Yeah, thanks for being here. I know it's been like a while since we've connected. I think obviously pre-pandemic, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So the audience already knows what you're all about based on your bio. Let me just go into how I know you. So we met when through UCI, the mutual team that were on IRMO, and I think I was on council, and then you were on for that era. And then since then, I've been following your social media updates, and then you have these like young teacher adventure videos. You have like motivational, inspirational type of videos, which I think is amazing. I'm all about that, obviously. And then I checked out your SoundCloud. I think you put out like pretty dope music as well. And I gravitate towards those sort of people like us. Like we kind of do different things, and it's like, but it's all cohesive in a sense, right? A reflection of ourselves. And you also enjoyed traveling. I saw some travel photos and videos too. Any other clarifications on what you're up to, what you're all about? Anything you want to add in there?
That was pretty good. Yeah. And on top of that, I'm on a journey right now to eventually attain my PhD in clinical psychology or educational psychology, still to be determined. Yeah. But I plan on starting a master's program this fall.
Nice. Yeah. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
I think that'll be super fun for you. All right, so warm-up question. We did talk about this. Where does the name Bunky come from? So that's like your username on SoundCloud and everything. Mm-hmm. So where did that come from?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a funny story, but the name Bunky derives from this person. He was first known as, have you heard of someone like Boom Gang? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's this guy. He's like covered up in tats. Mm-hmm. He was really famous like 2017, 2018. Okay. For the wrong reasons, though. Yeah, like he would like rob stores, and I did not like this guy at all. And he would yell "Boom Gang" every time he did it. And this guy, he ended up going on like interviews. You know, he's like, for lack of better terms, he was something called clout chasing. He was just chasing fame, right? And trying to get viral moments to spark his music career. And over time, he just kept getting deeper and deeper into the hole of chasing fame. And he started doing a lot of drugs. And there was this interview I watched where he literally passed it on the interview. And I'm like, oh man, like I do not want to be like this guy. Like, I don't know, you can't redeem someone like that. And then fast forward, I don't hear from this guy for like a year, like just radio silence. And then I remember like, oh, whatever that guy's up to. And randomly a video drops. He's like, hey guys, I've been gone for a while, but now I've been 8 months clean. I haven't done drugs, and I'm actually going to turn my life to God. And this is after he went to jail and everything. And I'm like, wait, this guy's like turning his life around. Fast forward to today, he's actually really into religion and really into trying to show people that you can change for the better. And he goes by Holy Gabbana now, or is it John Gabbana, but he goes by Holy Gabbana. And I just respected that so much because it showed me as like a young teenager to a young adult that it doesn't matter how far gone someone might seem, they're still redeemable in some sense. And that inspired me to like kind of replicate that. And the name Boonki, if you say Boon Gang really fast, like Boon Gang, Boon Gang, Boon Gang, it sounds like Boonki. And then I came up with a term called Boonki season, and that means it's comeback season. Like it's never too late to turn your life around. And I have to thank him for that. because that's where the idea first came from. What I believed, oh, you know what? People can be redeemable no matter how much you might think they're not. And I thought it was really beautiful, honestly, because it was someone that I despised. And he's someone that I can actually kind of look up to now too. So I thought that was wonderful.
That's a great story. I've never heard of that, but that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Are you like spiritual or anything at all?
Not incredibly spiritual or anything. I do find myself believing in like higher power, but nothing too organized.
Yeah,
I'm
nothing
still,
too organized.
like kind of exploring that.
Cool. I only bring that up because it reminds me of this. I forgot where this topic was, but someone was saying how to be a messenger of, let's say, a good idea or morals or principles, or just to be an example, you have to be this idea of perfect, right? And then I guess to relate it to like biblical references, all the people who Jesus made his like disciples and all this other stuff, like they're all deeply flawed people who messed up a lot. But, you know, what I learned from my pastor in my church is that that's the whole point, is that it's not the perfect person to give the perfect message. It's to show that everyone's flawed, everyone makes mistakes, but everyone is mostly redeemable, and they can be more of an inspiration based on their story. And that's the people that God uses. And so at a higher level, it's kind of that same idea, which is like, yeah, we all make mistakes, we all mess up. But I think, you know, that idea of your biggest pain is also your biggest ministry, meaning like what you help people with the most. I fully believe that. I think what's important is not focusing on the mess up, but it's like, how can we use our mess ups to help other people?
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. No, that was beautifully said.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that like your pastor spreads that message as well. And I think, I mean, you said it's biblical.
It's biblical.
Right?
Yeah. So that's
wonderful.
what it's based off of.
Yeah.
But yeah. I like that story. It was really good. Okay. First topic. So as usually with all my guests is kind of like your origin story, path to UCI, because we both went there, and then psychology. So where did you grow up? Who or what were your main influences to kind of connect the dots to where you are today?
Let's see. Well, I grew up partially or mostly San Diego, but partially also in Mexico. I was born here or in San Diego, but then I was raised in Mexico. So when we came back to live in San Diego again, I didn't speak any English. So that was a huge.
So you were born here, but then you were essentially just raised there until when?
Yeah, until like I was like 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
So I came back for second grade in elementary school. No, it's tough because at the time, like there wasn't too much DLI programs. I was huge minority. Not too many Mexicans in Chula Vista yet, but it was a really eye-opening experience to like language barrier and like how I don't fit in. But one of my biggest influences in my life for sure growing up has always been my mother. Yeah, my mother has been with me through thick and thin. We've moved a lot around to not just San Diego, like throughout San Diego and then throughout Mexico too. And she's been my rock ever since. And I don't think I'd be the person that I am today without her. So
Okay. I know you mentioned before that you also work with your mom.
Yeah.
So what is that? Could you elaborate on that? Like what capacity?
After pandemic and I graduated, at the time I didn't have a job and we were just going through the motion. I was expecting to get into school by the time I didn't get in, but I was expecting that. But like in the meantime, I went through this post-grad depression, and there was a point where I realized I need to somehow turn my life around. I can maybe get into that later. But after I made that realization, I realized, you know what, maybe I should work with my mother because that's something she always wanted me to do. And I always said no. And she owns a hair salon.
Okay.
And she always just wanted me to do like reception or maybe help her with scheduling. But then I'm like, salons are not really my thing. But then something in me, I'm just, you know what? I'm going to try something new. Let me work with you. And it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life because that experience alone made me truly realize the person that I've always looked up to and I've always wanted to get back to. I felt like I was making a genuine direct impact on that. I was helping her with this business that is her pride and joy. And for the first time in my life, I genuinely felt proud of myself to help her as her son, you know? So that was a very monumental moment. I was just receptionist, and now I know more about hair than I could have possibly imagined. Yeah. Like balayages, keratin treatments. That's probably like, what is that, right? Yeah. But I learned a lot, and I ended up helping like managerial side too over time. It wasn't something that was just given to me instantly. But I really learned the ins and outs of the business and sharing ideas with my mother about the business. It was a blast. And I didn't know I was missing that my entire life with her, especially.
Yeah. That's pretty dope. I think that's a special experience. I've had a similar thing where my mom and I got into entrepreneurship very closely.
Oh,
And it
nice.
was, again, I reiterate that experience. And
Mhm.
I was talking to my girlfriend about this literally last night, but in that same sort of like side hustle entrepreneurship thing, my parents have been divorced since I was 2, right?
Mhm.
And because of we got into like entrepreneurship, my dad ended up also working with me. And so it was like my dad and my mom in the same room. It
Oh,
was such a
what?
weird experience, but it was so cool because it's like I get to work with people who had the biggest influence on me.
Yeah.
We're building towards something, working towards something.
And I'm assuming it was all cordial.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. And no, they
nice.
are super chill, but also they're like proud of me because it's like we're doing
That's
something
so
together. So
beautiful.
like I love that as well. I think if people sometimes family dynamics are kind of challenging, but if people have the opportunity to like work
Mhm.
with their family and kind of, family time is so short and
Mhm.
limited. They say that study of once you graduate high school, that's 90% of all the time you'll spend with your folks.
Yeah.
But so that's why after you graduate, after you turn 18, you should spend as much time as you can with them as
Exactly.
possible.
Now, because then you settle in, maybe you
Yeah.
start families with other people, and
And
then
it's just holidays and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, it gets tough.
Yeah.
Well, and Mike, quick question for you: did you have that moment where it's like, for me, like I wanted to graduate for my mom because I wanted to make her proud, but then when I did it, yeah, I know I made her proud, but I didn't feel amazing about it as I did until I started working with her. Did you have a
Okay, I
similar
see.
experience, or?
I don't know if it's similar because my parents are always just like, do what you want.
Oh,
I
I
think
see.
you'll do, like just be happy and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And my parents always had their own sort of working jobs
Mhm.
until we started doing more entrepreneurship stuff. But I totally get that. It's like as opposed to doing something for them, but doing something with them is
Yeah.
totally different.
hmm
So I get that. So now I want to take it back really quick. So could you connect the dots of you growing up in Chula Vista, did you say?
Chula Vista,
Chula
yes.
Vista, and then all the way to UCI in psychology. What were the inflection points that made you want to eventually go to UCI, but then also psychology?
I see. So let's see. Well, psychology in particular, that one's an interesting one because, well, growing up, again, with the language barrier and how people treated me and then how I viewed other people, at the end of the day, I found it so interesting that I was raised completely differently than majority of my friends that I met eventually, but we all share very similar experiences when it comes to dealing with certain emotions. It's like we all experience heartbreak, betrayal, grief, joy, happiness,
What makes us
excitement.
human?
Exactly what makes us human. And I wanted to understand, like, yeah, why do we share this? Or like how does this process even happen? How do we fall in love? What does love even mean? And that was as a kid, but I didn't really understand, like, wait, where does that come from? I knew it came from the brain. So initially, I was applying to every school under a neuroscience major or a biology major to get into neuroscience because I knew it had to do with the brain. I didn't know about psychology at the time. And I remember I heard about it my senior year of high school. And they were offering it, and I'm like, I'm booked. I can't take the class. I would love to, but maybe I'll take it in college. I go to college at UCI, and I literally only went to UCI because one of my closest friends at the time told me, out of all the schools you got in, I think you like this one the most. And this person knew me like really well. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take your word for it. And I just signed up for UCI. And I love the school too. It's a gorgeous campus when I visited. I made a great decision to go there. But I took my first psychology class as an elective, along with like biology and chemistry. I had never been more fascinated in a classroom just based on the material itself.
What was the material? If you don't,
So I learned why people experience depression and what it means to experience depression, what are symptoms of it, and how you can actually deal with it. I was like, I've never heard of this before, and it's weird because nowadays it's really easy to look up any symptoms and how to deal with it. People have, there's great channels on YouTube like Psych2Go. I don't know if you've heard of them, but that really kind of take you step by step through the process of, hey, this is what it looks like and here's what it could look like for you. But before, I didn't have access to that. YouTube wasn't that huge. It was big, but not that huge. And wow, it was just such an eye-opener experience for me because I always had anxiety and like I guess I had depression at the time and I didn't even know it. And it was just an eye-opener to see a full classroom of people learning the same thing, taking it in. It's like, wow, this is something that we could actually work on. I thought I was just a weird kid for feeling this way, So it felt to be a part of something bigger. And I felt like I fit in for once in terms of like my own emotions.
I see. So you really resonated with that first class, and you're like, it all just clicked into place. So now we talked about this off camera, but you said you got into a master's program this fall, right?
Correct.
So where's the future lead, or what do you expect to be doing, let's say, in the next 5-10 years?
Well, 5, 10 years, probably more school. Yeah, because the master's program would be 2 years or a year and a half. And then following that, I would be entering a PhD program where minimum it's 5 with a max of 7 years. So definitely more schooling. But after that, I ideally see myself teaching at universities, doing more research into the realm of psychology because how we mentioned before, psychology is fairly new when you compare it to like most subjects like math or biology we've been talking about anatomy for many, many years compared to psychology. And our world is constantly shifting a lot for humans, like in terms of social aspect, in terms of
technology.
Yeah, technology is moving faster than it's ever moved in the history of mankind. Like it's a lot to take in, and we're going to need people that dedicate their lives to discovering, okay, how do we handle all of this new information? Okay, here's how we can do it. I want to be part of that team that goes in there and tries to figure out, okay, how can we make this like sustainable for ourselves, really? How can we take in information? One of the things that I would love to do is if I can improve humanity's relationships with one another and themselves, then I made it in life. And I'm not just going to say I'm going to change the world,
Save the world, yeah.
Yeah, but as long as I'm improving human relationships, whether that means with other people or themselves, then I did it. That's, I guess, what you would say is my end goal with that too.
I love it. So now, perfect transition. So now you've been in education for a while now.
Yes.
And now we're moving over to the next topic, which is being a younger educator, building community, and then eventually your TED Talk. Let's start off with the first video, Solomon, if you don't mind throwing this up.
Okay.
Young Teacher Adventures by Hazier.
Young Teacher Adventures. So, I was teaching the other day, regular day, and I had to let the students know, hey, you'll have a test this Friday, and it's Wednesday. And one of the students goes, really, chat? Really? Huh? Chat? Chat?
I love the memes.
I'm not streaming. You're not streaming. Why are you saying chat? Generation's cooked.
Yeah, I love it.
So,
it's so funny because I have a younger brother who is like a third year in college, and I have a baby brother who is going into high school next year. He's always like, "Oh, we're so cooked. We're cooked." You know, like all the lingo that you know about.
Yep.
And so I related to that a lot. I was like, "Yep, that's my little brother."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, learning on the lingo. You'd think because I'm a bit on the younger side compared to like most of my colleagues, I'm like, I'm gonna pick up on everything. No, cooked. I learned from them too. Chat. That was genuinely so true. I'm like, why are you saying chat to me? Like, I get it's a Twitch thing, but like, why are they saying it in person?
In real life? Yeah, we're not streaming.
Yeah, we're not streaming, but literally almost everyone says that now too. I'll be out and about, and my friends say it too. I'm like, what's happening? You know?
Yeah.
But it's cool. That's just how it goes. But then it really showed, like, wow, yeah, I guess I really am in the next generation, like above now.
Yeah,
not the youngest.
I feel like because like I mentioned, dancing on a UCLA team. It's like skibbity. They say slay because it's dance stuff. And so there's all these things, and I'm just like, I'm hearing it. And I'm like, if I hear a reference that I don't know 3 times, I'm like, oh, this is a thing. Or it's a trend, or it's a video sort of thing. But it's always a fun experience. You're like, what is this language?
Yeah.
You're speaking the same language, but we're also not.
Exactly. Yeah, and I really did not think I would feel out of touch with the youth.
Right. You're like, I'm young though. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
So how did you get into teaching, and then what did you teach and all that stuff?
So I got into it. It was a bit random, but we have a family friend who is a middle school teacher, and she suggested that I should look into it because there's a teacher shortage because of pandemic.
Oh, I see.
So I decided, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And they were increasing the pay for that year because they really needed other teachers. So I signed up initially just to be a daily sub. So I was just going to do it literally once a week while I work at my mom's hair salon. I was like, yeah, we'll figure it out. And I'm going to ease into it because I'm like, I kind of don't want to do it because working with teenagers sounds like a nightmare. Right. And so I'm going into this like, okay, I'm going to sign up for AP calculus class. They're just going to work. It'll be super chill. I'll do my thing. Right. And I get there an hour and a half early because I wanted to be like putting a good impression for my first teaching experience. And then the secretary's like, oh, you're early because it was a midday assignment. You're really early. I'm like, oh yeah, I just wanted to ask for advice because it's my first time doing this. And she's like, well, actually, do you think it's someone in the class right now? And I'm like, What? Excuse me?
This is what you get for coming early.
Exactly. I'm being punished for trying to do the right thing, right? But no. And then I'm like, ooh, I'm about to say no. But I'm like, what class is it? What class is it?
Yeah.
She goes, oh, it's dance. And I'm like, oh, dance?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, I've danced for like 8 years at this point. I've actually taught classes. I have a background in ballet, lyrical, jazz, contemporary, hip hop. And then she goes, no way. We're actually looking for a dance teacher right now. I was like,
what are the chances?
No way. Yeah. And even the principal came in and she's like, wait, you can actually teach dance? I'm like, well, yeah, if you'd like me to, but wait, is this full time? What's going on? Like, it's a lot. And they need to teach right now too. And one thing after another, essentially, we decided like it's a short-term position. So I was with them for about 3 months until they found like a permanent position. And that changed the trajectory of what I thought I wanted to do with my career. Because before I wasn't really looking into teaching. It wasn't until all this teaching experience happened, because after that 3 month, then they saw me, oh, this guy can actually do like temporary teaching. So then I had another class for 6 months in English. And then I had another class, I taught summer school, which was government and economics. And then I had another class that was another 6 months. And no, this was a full year. This was 8 months. So a full school year. And that was sociology and world history. Yeah. And that was a ton of fun too. Then after that, it was biology. And then it was sociology and government.
Okay, wait. So how do you go into teaching those different subjects?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like psychology, UCI.
Yeah.
How do you go into teaching all those different things?
So what helped a lot was, in college, I did take courses in all of these, but what truly helped is the fact that I took AP classes in high school, like AP Gov. I'm like, I could probably teach government again. I just needed to like relearn everything.
I see.
But to me, they ask me if I'm comfortable to do it. And it's like, as long as you know these core concepts, try your best. And they're not expecting too much because I'm not a permanent position. So they're not like, hey, you need to be like top level. But in my opinion, I gave it my all. Like I genuinely gave this position my all because I told myself, I'm here. I might as well try my absolute best at this, even though I know I'm not going to do this forever, at least high school teaching. I want to give it my all and try to make this as best of an experience for myself and for everyone in the classroom as well. And yeah, it's genuinely been one of the best jobs I've ever had in my entire life.
I like it.
Yeah.
So 2 questions, and these were probably a little loaded or this is one thing we could probably go on hours for, but biggest challenges of being a high school teacher. And then 2, biggest takeaways or lessons that you've learned as you reflect on your 3.5-ish or so years of experience.
I see. So takeaways, challenges. So with the challenges, I would say at first it was classroom management because I'm younger. So they're like, oh, this guy's going to let us do whatever we want. Yeah. And I was, I guess, a chill teacher at the time too. But I've learned over time to like really put my foot down. Like, hey, like I want you guys to actually learn. And navigating that was so tough because I hate being like mean. But what I did instead is I talked to them like as if they were like how I would talk to an adult. Like, hey, I know this might not be that interesting, but I promise you, like, I'm going to try to make this as interesting as possible. Do your absolute best. And let's work together to make this a good educational environment for all of us. And I always tried tying everything we learned to the real world. And that literally clicked for majority of the students every single time. And I was surprised, like, yeah. And I asked them, like, wait, do they not teach you this way in your other classes? They're like, nope. And that surprised me, but I get it because it's not technically part of the core curriculum to constantly try to tie everything. And it's a lot of work to do that too.
Like making it relevant to the real world.
Exactly.
Like they should care about it.
Exactly. It's hard to make them care unless you try to find, because luckily I was younger, I understood more pop culture references or movies or music, and I tie that in, or maybe whatever is going on, like especially in government. There was so much to talk about at the time too.
Like, trust, this is very relevant.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was the easiest one to tie in, along with sociology. But the ones that were a bit more challenging was like English and biology. But once I got around to those, it was, I wouldn't say walk in the park, but definitely way more manageable than the beginning. Second challenge, and probably the most pressing one, was coming up with all this extra time to try to grade everything at home, to prepare at home. It was like, I don't have this time. And I'm like, I feel like I don't have any time for myself anymore. my life became school and I wasn't even a permanent teacher. You know, that's the part that really blew my mind from the whole thing. And then, so this one semester, I told myself, this whole semester, I'm not taking any of the work home. I'm going to do it all here and I'm going to lock in and do it all during school hours. And I fell behind more than you could possibly imagine. No, it was so rough. And I noticed it affected my relationship with the students too, because something I would do, and this is me, like, I went above and beyond, but I don't regret it, is for the English class, I made it a goal to sit one-on-one with every student and just to get to know them. So I'd ask them 3 questions like, how's school? How's life outside of school? And what's one thing you're looking forward to in life? And you'd be so surprised how much students would share. Sometimes some students didn't share. And like, I didn't pry. I just wanted to get to know them, at least on a basic level. And it improved the learning environment by like tenfold when I did that. But unfortunately, that was when I took homework with me. When I didn't do that, it was 10 times harder because I still tried doing that as well. I could only do maybe half the class if I was lucky. So that became the 2 biggest challenges because it affects classroom management, but I needed to have some sort of a life at home again. But at the time, I didn't mind this job becoming like everything to me at the time. It was genuinely so fun.
Yeah.
And I guess that goes into my takeaway too with the students. I mean, I went into this job thinking, man, teenagers don't like them, right? And most older adults don't because they're reckless. They don't know what they're doing with their lives. And while maybe those 2 things may be true, their brilliance is also true. Their talent, their motivation, their compassion. And it really broke my heart, like learning how many students nowadays just feel like so hopeless at such a young age too. I would tell some students, oh, no, you're doing amazing. I'm proud of you. You've come a long way. And seeing like the light in their eyes when I'd say that. And then some people, they just brush it off like instantly. But I'm like, wait, do they not hear this? Are they not as hopeful as I thought they would be about their futures? And that really was a wake-up call for me. And just seeing, I wonder how it is for them on a daily basis at the school if no one ever told them that, or if I wasn't around to tell them that. Because some students told me, and the fact that like only 2 students told me, yeah, I've never had someone tell me that before. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's still too many, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that they told me that, so that tells me like there's even more students that are just the silent majority. And it broke my heart. And these kids need more hope in their lives. Yeah. And us as educators, it's almost part of our jobs to give them that hope too, because we're here to teach them about the world at the end of the day. Yeah, I'll teach you math and science and English, but hey, I want you to succeed in life. Should be all of us as educators, our end goal with each student that we have. And I learned this when I went to summer school. It was extra pay because it's summer school, so I did it. I was like, I'm going to get the worst kids imaginable. I'm going to get the dude that yells at the teacher, that throws stuff at me or something. And I found the complete opposite. It was all the quietest kids you've ever imagined.
Why do you think that is?
So my understanding of it is they lack the most attention in class because they're the quiet kids. So for instance, like the rambunctious kid that like maybe he yells in class or swears, whatever, the teacher pays attention to them a lot more than the person that's like, and for lack of better words, like suffering in silence. Every single kid for both of my summer school classes, silent. It wasn't until closer to the end of summer school session, like a bit more lively because I did exercises for them to talk to each other. But for the most part, I was shook. Everything I thought about, like what determines a failing student, just was flipped on its head. It was like, oh, we're not paying attention to our students enough. Because they knew their stuff. Once I had to do a lot of one-on-one, but once I really talked to them and really guided them, they got it like that. But it was like, wow. But I don't blame teachers too. Of course. The ratio is wow.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle.
It is. I mean, for me alone, the most I had was around maybe 150 students, something like that, 140. And that's a lot for me, but I still try to do my best. But I can't imagine like with especially teachers that are older That's a lot of like young people to manage, a lot of energy. Gotta go home socially drained. I didn't want to talk to anyone. So that's why I don't necessarily blame the teachers. It's more of maybe we need a bit of a better system, like organizational at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, our kids do need a bit more attention on the like just emotional front too, and hope.
That segues great into our next section, but really quick, I want to show your TED Talk photo. My second guest who's ever had a TEDx talk, which is fantastic. I'll link to it in the show notes so they can check it out. I loved it, little by little.
Thank you.
Great. You kind of touched upon it already in your story, but I think that's very impactful. It's like the idea of tackling a large thing. You just kind of do it piece by piece.
Exactly.
And I think that's very good for especially your students. We have to move on to the next section now, but so this next topic is on social relationships, emotional well-being, and getting human experience. Right. So you put that in like the topics. So could you elaborate on this idea of personal human experience? Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So with personal human experience, it's just focusing more on the individual experience, like not so much like your friends or relationships, loving one another. What does your life look like on a day-to-day basis? How do you talk to yourself? What is your self-talk? And most of us have a self-monologue every day. What is that saying to you every day?
Or a mental script.
Exactly, like a mental script. What is that saying every day? How do you view yourself? How do you react to things all the time? Because for the most part, I don't think I've had an experience in any classroom, at least in high school, where we touched on that. Where it's like, hey, how do you approach situations on your own? How do you look at your life? Like, because we all have such different perspectives. We come from completely different backgrounds. Even if we're culturally similar, our parents raised us probably completely differently. Maybe some of us only had one mom and one dad, or we had both parents and maybe they collided. Maybe they had the greatest love of their life. Maybe we had siblings or not. Everyone has their own personal experience when it comes to their views on the world. So my idea is I think we need to focus on that a little bit in some aspect at a younger stage in life so we can have a better understanding of how to take in our environment. Because we always focus on like, make sure you get the right friends or, make sure you marry the right person. It's always of connecting with others. What about connecting with yourself a little bit more?
External versus internal.
Exactly. Yeah. And it would be great if there's some way we can incorporate that into our curriculum in like high school stage. Maybe elementary might be too early, or maybe middle school, but definitely a high school stage would be a good stage to really explore that in more detail for everyone, because that can make or break you.
Right. So we talked about this a little bit off camera, but if you were talking about the educational system and how we can improve it. Obviously there's a lot of room for improvement and growth. If you could, in an ideal world, create that, what are some highlights or key changes do you feel like would make the most impact?
An entire class on just communication.
What kind of communication?
So for instance, one, public speaking, I think is one of the best things you can do. So for instance, I've told my students, and they hate me for this, but I've told my students, English is probably one of the best classes you'll ever take, because that's the closest we'll get to communications in a high school level. Because one, presentations, but two, I would love to see students practice emotional talk as well. Like, how do you convey your emotions to another person? Let's say something bothers you, right? How do you approach like a conflict resolution with someone else when it comes to, hey, this about you annoys me. Okay, how do you approach that effectively? I only learned this when I was in college. I took a whole class on social relationships and how you should approach certain situations. And I was also a peer educator. So that was all about, okay, mental well-being, and this is how you express yourself in an effective and respectful manner. We're losing that a lot because it's not touched upon at an earlier stage in life. And I believe that would just have tremendous value on people's relationship with not only other people, but themselves too. Let me give you an example. So, when you write an essay, you have to write an intro as to like, this is what the essay is pretty much going to be about. That's how most people should go into conflict resolutions with anyone. So let's say, for instance, like me and my girlfriend, let's say I'm always late to things and she gets really annoyed by it. She'll go up to me like, if she doesn't preface anything, she goes, hey, this really annoyed me. I just am constantly baffled by the fact that you're always late and you make me feel stupid. And it's like, that's more of like a hostile environment versus if she was to preface like, hey, I'm only going to say this because I want a relationship to improve for both of us. And I just want to understand you a little bit better. And can I just want to be honest, like, it kind of annoys me that you're consistently late and it hurts and it really irritates me. That at least opens the door to the possibility of it being more of a conflict resolution rather than, oh, she's attacking me. Because at least it opens the door. I'm not saying guaranteed, hey, preface everything and people would understand you. No, but at least it opens the door to just a civil discussions. Oh, wait, yeah, she does love me and she's only doing this for the betterment of our relationship. That prefacing, it sounds so simple, but it's like the most effective thing you can do when it comes to conflict resolution. It doesn't even have to be romantic. It can be your friends, your family. If you talk to yourself a little bit, that could also really help. I do it all the time. I ask myself, like, wait.
Preface to myself, Hazi, we need to do this.
Exactly. No, exactly. And it helps a lot. It helps a lot. The words you say on a daily basis, especially to yourself, eventually create that reality for you. Yeah.
I like that. I think my next question is like this idea of emotional well-being. We're kind of talking about that, but what do you think people get wrong about their own emotional well-being?
What I've seen, kind of two things. One, people don't give enough patience and time to emotions compared to other things. So for instance, let's say you want to get 6-pack abs, right? Let's say you do 1,000 sit-ups today. You're not going to have a 6-pack tomorrow. That's just not how it works, right? I mean, you might see a difference because 1,000's a lot, but you're not going to have the shape that you ideally want. It takes time and consistency. But the same thing with emotions, and I've seen this with my students too, because I've had classes where we discussed, hey, here's some little things you can do in your life to improve mental well-being. And I had one student tell me, yeah, I tried the journaling option and it doesn't work. I still feel the same. I'm like, it's been 3 days, and it's been only 3 days.
What, you don't have abs yet?
Exactly, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's because you can't see it. It's all about just how you feel, right? And you can't see the progress, but trust me, there's progress in there. It's like, let's say you did 100 sit-ups. There's progress there, but you just can't see it yet. And I believe people need to give emotional well-being that same patience. And also the difference is too, it's not one size fits all. Again, going back to the ab example, like you can do sit-ups and you'll probably get there eventually. But let's say you do the journaling thing for a while. That might not work for you. Maybe you need to just go outside more. Maybe talk to your family more, connect with them more. Maybe meditate, sit there in your thoughts and just think and just, be worry-free for a few seconds, a few minutes. And there's so many options. And I've told myself and my students time and time again, if you would give someone else the grace and the patience and the options to try to change their lives, like especially someone you love, you'd be like, hey, I'm going to do everything I can to help you to get out of this rut. Why don't you give yourself that same treatment? That changed everything for me. And hopefully it changed a lot for my students. But, and the second thing too, when it comes to like emotional well-being and when people think emotional control, they think like, all right, you got to be a robot. You just can't react to anything. Like, no, not necessarily. It's just there's appropriate times to be sad. There's appropriate times to not make it worse either. To me, emotional control is, yes, I'm sad. Yes, whatever I'm going through is really intense. Like maybe loss of life, betrayal, whatever it may be, heartbreak of some sort. I'm going to do everything in my power to not make this worse for myself. Because a lot of people will turn to drugs.
Downward spiral.
And it's tough. And that comes with not having enough emotional well-being, enough emotional control. That's more of what we mean as when we say you should have good emotional control, because there's a time and place to cry it out and be sad. But man, do your absolute best to fight for yourself too.
It reminds me a lot of Inside Out. 1 and 2, both great movies. And similar, I guess, the big takeaway for me is that our emotions are there for a reason. Yeah. And for a lot of people who try to robot their way through life, it kind of suppresses those things, and they're there to help us. Yeah. And to your point, understanding it, controlling it, whatever, processing it, giving it the time to breathe, and then moving on to solve the problem. Yeah. But also what you're saying, fight for yourself. Don't go into that downward spiral. Exactly. Don't let anxiety or whoever take over.
Yeah.
So I like that.
And last thing to touch on that too, it's like also when I mentioned the patience too, it's like almost never ending. It's like, if you want to keep the abs, you got to keep working out. And it's the same thing with emotions. People think, oh, I feel better now, I can stop.
Yeah, it's a lifelong process. Right?
Exactly. It's consistency, lifelong, but it's what makes it fun too. Yeah.
It's an added value. It's like maintaining your car. If you maintain your car, then it'll take you places.
Exactly.
Right. So I want to talk about this similar again is what do you think are the biggest challenges in navigating social relationships? So similar vein. And then maybe what advice do you have for people to navigate and or improve these social relationships?
Let's see. Navigating social relationships. Well, I mentioned it earlier. 1000% has to be communication and how we communicate ourselves to others, like how we present how we feel about someone to another person. Like communication.
How we present how we feel about someone to another person?
No, how we feel about ourselves to them.
To them.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
Sorry about that.
Mm.
Yeah, and so let me think here. So, for instance, there's been times in marriages where they feel like, oh, we fell out of love. The spark is gone. It's like, well, love can be a feeling, but love is also a commitment. It's a choice. It's an effort, right? And it's talking through like, okay, let's be honest with each other. Hey, we're losing the spark. What can we do to reignite it? Well, we haven't gone on a date in like 6 months. Perfect. Let's try that. And it's like people mislabel love too much as just a feeling, just passion, just the spark. No, it's so much more than that. And to me, that's what makes at least human love one of the most beautiful experiences in life, because yeah, you can lose it and it's scary. It's terrifying to lose love. But I think the fact that you could potentially lose it makes it all the more valuable.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So when people approach love, always just don't assume it's based on the feeling. Work at it. It's, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't want to say treat it like work,
right.
But it is work.
It requires effort.
It requires effort. And it's that whole like fight for yourself. If you're a downward spiral, fight for your love, man. Both of you. It's a two-way street. If one person not reciprocating, then explore other options or something, other ways to deal with that. But at the end of the day, with most marriages that at least have been studied, it's because they don't talk about their love anymore, because then it becomes about the kids, about their car, about their career, about other things other than
external.
Yeah, because we get really comfortable. Even, I mean, I've been in my relationship for a few years now, but even I've gotten too comfortable and it's pretty fresh. It's like, oh, wait, yeah, maybe we should go on dates more often. Let's explore new worlds together more often. And let's keep this thing alive together, you and me. And that's the beauty of what love should be. And that's communication. Like having that uncomfortable conversation, like, honestly, we got to do something, you know? And it's so hard. And it's so hard. And last thing I'll touch on that segues into it is how a lot of my students, they find talking about emotions cringy. And that's like another way of saying it's just uncomfortable for them. They don't want to do it. And it's like, I get it, because you've never really done it before, especially in like a controlled setting. But at the end of the day, it's something that I believe everyone should just attempt doing sooner rather than later. Take that chance with maybe having a nice conversation with your parents, and hopefully it goes well. At least you tried and the door is open. But every single time, and this has helped me a lot, every single time I always tell myself, chances are it can work out, but it can always not, because humans are incredibly unpredictable. You could be extremely perfect, like in terms of what you say, how you do it, how you execute it, maybe how you present your emotions to someone. It's perfect on paper, but the person can still be like, nope, I don't accept you. It's like, dang. But that's how humans are. We're incredibly unpredictable because of our feelings. I would say people should be very patient with themselves when it comes to social relationships and relationships with themselves.
I love it. Now I can see why you were so good at your TED Talk. This is such a wealth of information. I loved every single point. I'm not going to add anything to that.
Oh, appreciate it.
So thank you. Guys, listen to this again, rewind it. That was all gold. I mean, the rest of it was too, but you got your money's worth. Cool. All right.
Thanks.
Let's transition to rapid fire. You ready?
Bam, bam.
All right. So rapid fire questions. You can take as much time as you need within 15 minutes.
Yeah,
so,
gotcha.
First question, billboard question. If you could put up a sign for millions of people to see, what would it say?
Ooh, okay, I have two. Is that okay?
Go for it.
Okay, number one is, as I mentioned before, it is never too late to turn your life around. I've met people in their 80s that have been drug-free for 6 years, and now they dedicate their lives to teaching others, people much younger than them, to stay drug-free as well, at like rehab centers. It's absolutely amazing to see. And then, obviously, with the Boom Gang experience, Gabbana, but with my own students, I have 17-year-olds telling me, Mr. Rios, no, it's too late for me. I don't think I can be successful. I'm like, you're 17.
Yeah.
Like, it's not too late, you know?
Yeah.
It's not too late. Yeah, sure, you didn't start studying hard when you were 5.
Sure.
Start now.
Yeah.
Right? Start right now and see where life takes you. Because I've had friends that they graduate with 2.7, go to community college, and then they transfer into like UC Berkeley. Whoa. Right? Anyway, second one is life is as simple as you want it to be. This one requires a bit more context, but it's because you can let someone critiquing you or making fun of you affect you for the rest of your day, rest of your week, or you could take them and like, okay, I'll move on. Because a lot of us take in negativity so intensely, especially me. I'm guilty of that too. I'm working on that. So if I get 10 compliments a day, one person says something negative, sticks with you, right? But instead of making that complicate my life, let me simplify it. Or let's say I want to get good at doing music. That's complicated. Let me get good at it and simplify it. That's that way. Or my relationship, it might be complicated. Let's simplify it by effectively communicating with each other so we're on the same page about things. Life is as simple as you want it to be.
I like it. Next question. What is one of the hardest challenges you faced and what did you learn from it?
Oh, let's see. Rapid fire, huh? I'd say believing in myself. I, for so many years of my life, was incredibly hard on myself. I would do a performance, like for dance, for example, and my friends would be like, wow, that was really good. Like, you're really good. And I would be like, thanks, but no. I would tell them that. I would be like, no. like,
you're actually wrong.
Exactly. And looking back, I kind of took away from their excitement too, from their experience. It's like, oh man, I kind of ruined all those moments when people told me good job. And I ruined it for myself, especially. And even I've been in instances where I just didn't believe in myself and it like held me back from so many opportunities in life or ruined friendships because I'm like, oh no, I suck. I'm a terrible person. I'm not a good enough friend for you. I need to leave. Like, it was really bad. Me being against myself is, if I were to have a regret, I don't have regrets because I love the person I am today.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to have one, it would be, I should have believed in myself sooner rather than later. Hey, but it's never too late.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess in the same vein, if you could give your younger self advice, what would it be now?
Believe in yourself. Yeah. And at the end of the day, no one will come to save you except yourself. Because I was surrounded by wonderful people that would try to help me all the time. Like, you should go for this job opportunity. Oh, you should take this class. You should do this. And I'm like, no, I'm not good enough. Like, at the end of the day, like, everyone can try to lift me up. But if I'm holding myself down, I'm the biggest weight. So I genuinely believe in yourself.
If you could redo one thing, what would you do differently? And I know you said no regrets, but as a thought experiment, maybe something in teaching, if you could go back, if you could redo something, what would you redo?
I think I would try to incorporate. I started doing it in like my later half of my teaching career. Is I started having like TED Talks in class. So when there was time, I would write on the board like topics that I knew about. Or I'd be like, what's a topic you think I can talk about? And that was so fun for the students. I'm like, I should have done this earlier because then it made them more engaged into everything we were learning. They're like, wait, this guy kind of knows this stuff about. And I made it fun and interesting for them. And it was so fun hearing their thoughts too, because it wasn't just one-sided. I'd be like, and has anyone experienced something like this? And then they would share their story related to the topic. Oh, it was such a blast.
Yeah.
That was such a blast, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
What new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life in the last few years, let's say?
I would say reminding myself that there are things outside of my control and that there's things in my control. As long as I'm getting the things in my control, I worry a lot less about everything else now. Because before, man, I was worrying about every little thing that was out of my control. And it played into the whole like, see, you're not good enough because you can't control everything. Like, it was tough, but reminding myself every day, you know what? I'm just going to focus on what I can do right now. Everything else, like, it is what it is, right? Yeah. But as long as I focus on what I can do, I'm proud of myself. I'm happy with the person I am because I'm consistently working on the things that I can do. Yeah.
I love it. All right. This is a 2 parts, each side of the coin question. But if you knew you wouldn't fail, what would you be doing now? And if you knew you would absolutely fail, what would you do anyway?
Wow. I love this question. If I knew I couldn't fail, well, I would be a musician, doctor of psychology. Yeah, I would do that. And my genuine dream, if I just couldn't fail at it, is I'd go on like a tour of doing concerts and also doing public speaking.
I love it.
About psychology, yeah. But I could do both, but it's like, realistically, I don't know. I'm telling myself I can't do both. You never know, right?
Hey,
but
little by little, man. Little by
little by little. That's right. Yeah, I gotta take my own advice, really. Yeah.
So if you knew you would absolutely fail, what would you be doing anyway?
Psychology. And speaking about it with students, people that have a whole life ahead of them. I would try to help them no matter what. Even if I fail, well, I'm still doing what I love. And if there's just a chance I can improve just one person's life in the room, that's the world to me. Yeah.
I like it. All right. What is one thing that you've been pondering deeply, or what is your favorite hot take you think people wouldn't agree with?
My favorite hot take or something I've been pondering deeply, or favorite hot take?
Yeah.
Ooh. That's a tough one. Wow. A hot take?
If you don't have one, you can be something you've been thinking about.
Something I've been thinking about. Well, just people's opinions, like mainstream opinions on things. I don't want to use the word mainstream, but it's just general opinions towards art nowadays, like especially movies and TV shows and music and just art, like paintings. Like I've seen way more negativity around it than I ever have in my entire life. Like I believe if people found a way to express their own art, I don't think we should call that like terrible. We should be like, oh, I don't agree with it. I just don't rock with it, but it's cool. Like I don't think we should be knocking on people's art so harshly, because at the end of the day, majority of art isn't necessarily offensive either. It's just they try their best. Exactly. It's just an expression, and they try their best to convey this message. And I think we're being way too harsh, especially on newer people pursuing art. Oh my gosh, I've seen people just get ripped into. I'm like, this is their first time posting anything. Like it's tough, man.
And this is the majority of the time, it's people who don't create themselves.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That's the part that irks me so much. And and so the hot take part is I don't think every person with a phone needs to post their opinion necessarily. Yeah.
I like
necessarily.
it. I like it.
Especially if it's so negative.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've made in either time, money, energy, etc.?
Wait, can I say one more hot take?
Go ahead.
We should ban phones in school.
I mean, I like it. I'm trying to ban phone for myself.
Okay, great.
It's
Yeah.
kind of hard, but I want to do it.
Yeah, because that's such a distractor. But best investment, yeah, so this changed my life. So there was a period where I feel like I've hit rock bottom multiple times, but I feel like that's all of us.
Yeah.
But I felt like I hit that period. I remember I was on the floor scrolling through TikTok for 7 hours straight. And I was like, I need to fix my life. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, gosh. But at the end of the day, I decided, you know what? I'm going to walk outside every day for at least 10 minutes. 10 minutes turned into 20, to 30, an hour, then into 10,000 steps a day. Changed my entire life. I got my life together. I started talking to my family more. That's when I started working for my mom. I started working on myself, exercising more, because I was 20 pounds underweight too. And to me, I just wasn't proud of that. I felt really unhealthy. I was getting sick a lot. I wasn't sleeping well. I was waking up. Anyway, and just walking outside, no music, just walking.
Just being present, walking.
Exactly. And just thinking. And then I would take breaks on this bench with a decent view. And I'm like, and then I started walking with like the old man walk, the hands behind your back. Yeah. And I'm like, I understand why they do this now. Mm-hmm. Like, wow, it had such a dramatic impact on me. It changed my life forever. Walking outside every day.
I like it. I recommend it. I do the same. 10,000 steps has changed my life, like in small ways, but also it's like the little things, but also the big things. Yeah. So I recommend it.
Exactly.
Last rapid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Little by little, right?
Little by little.
Last question for rapid fire: favorite books, movies, videos, articles, media, etc. that you share the most. Any sort of media that you're like, I think you should consume this thing. Besides your TED Talk.
I know. Oh, yeah.
Because it's great.
Yeah.
You should do that. But
to me, it's always because like it depends. Like, oh, I know you like this, so you should watch this.
Contextual.
All right, super random. I say watch anime. I love anime.
Okay. No, I mean, same. My last few episodes are all in anime.
Yeah.
Top rec. Top
Oh
recommendation.
God. Oh God. Okay. If you're new, Hunter x Hunter, my personal favorite has been ReZero season 2 because of the exploration of the psyche and the character development. Boom. There. It's rapid fire.
I love it. Rezero's on my list.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We have come to the end. Hazi, so this ending question. So I like to end with gratitude. Shout out to my mom. I just called her today. So Hazi, what are you grateful for?
Wow. Well, one, I'm grateful for this experience. It's been phenomenal. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I think you're changing the world little by little with this, honestly.
Thanks, man.
And I'm just really grateful for the life I have right now. There's moments where I think, man, my life kind of sucks. But I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Does it really?
Yeah, like I have a phone. I got a roof
Yeah.
over my head. I have a car. I can drive here from San Diego. Like I live in San Diego,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Life is genuinely so amazing. And like as long as I'm having my basic needs met and I'm surrounded by people that love me and support me and I have a good time with too and I love and support them, I couldn't ask for any more. And everything, I used to be so hard on myself and a lot of us are like, we're not where we think we should be by the time you're like a certain age. But man, it's just good to sit back and be grateful and just trust the process. Trust the process.
I like it.
Yeah.
So on that note, final ask from the audience or final takeaways you'd like them to have.
Should I look at the camera?
Go for it. Right there.
Guys, please, 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 the last person you should ever give up on is yourself. Absolutely. Yeah. And just try to live a life with love, with good intentions, and don't stop learning. Do not stop learning. Watch more than 1,000 Gurus. You'll learn a lot.
Thank you, sir. I don't plug my podcast often, but thank you for that.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever. If this added value, let me know. All right, last question. Ozzy, where can we find you if people want to see what you're up to, connect, etc.?
Yeah. So I got Instagram, TikTok. So hazi.er. Yep, right there. And then TikTok is just 33 on top of that. I stream too on my alter ego account, Boomkey33. And then I also, wait, is that it? I think that's it,
I
right?
think that's it, SoundCloud.
Yeah. Oh, my SoundCloud. Yeah. Boomkey on Spotify as well. Spotify, Apple Music, on all streaming platforms. I make music on there.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll link to it in the episode, so you'll be able to find it everywhere. All right. So, well, that is the end. Hazi, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
I really
man.
appreciate it.
Oh,
Thanks for
so
stopping by. I know we have a lot we could probably cover, perhaps a part 2 if it's in the cards, but I really appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I would love to be back.
Yeah, nice.
that'd be
All right.
awesome.
So my final sign off for the audience. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself.
Mhm.
And you can always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thanks for being here.